All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades, friends, everyone. Come one, come all. Welcome. I've got my webinar patter down to a T now, Lisa.
I know. It's such hard work being an influencer.
Absolutely. So, guys, great to be with you again this evening. What day is it? 14th of April. It's nice to be with you. It's nice to be with you as some semblance of normality seems to be returning. Some things are opening up again, which I think will make a lot of people feel good. We've had some relaxations of the lockdown. Some shops have been allowed to open. Bookshops I saw have been allowed to open. And that is, I think, something that will help us feel a little bit better and a little bit like we're coming through the end of this.
Are we allowed to go to them though?
You can't go to them. Oh, no.
Yeah, because that's my worry with it. It's like, oh, that's good. Some things are being allowed to open, but are we allowed to go?
I wonder if it's going to be like that story of the very sad story of about how poor people in Napoli used to be, and it used to be the story that a father told his son, if you're very well behaved tonight, I'll take you to a cafe and you can watch a man eat an ice cream through the window. That's kind of what I feel like.
Fantastic.
So, guys, good evening. My name is Liam. I am one of the teachers at Myers Meravigli. I am 30 years old and I come from the heart of England, well, the north of England anyway, birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, home to England's most successful football team, the mighty Manchester United, and birthplace of the Scotch egg and black pudding. Take that, London.
Wow.
And with me tonight, we have...
Hello, I'm Lisa. So I don't know, I don't have these amazing claims, but anyway, I'll try it. So I'm 29 and I'm from Ireland. So I don't know, Ireland is famous for alcohol and green fields and sheep everywhere. That's basically
no, hang on. Let's not do a disservice. To it is possibly the country where, literature, writing, storytelling is appreciated more than any other country.
That's true. And we do love a good old, yeah, that's true. A good old depressing poem.
Exactly, guys. Just goes to show you a propensity towards drinking and depression can produce great art. I think Ireland is proof of that.
It really can. So guys, please write to us. I know there's a few of you watching already. So write to us in the comments, say hello, tell us where you are. Tell us how you are. Did you have a nice Easter? Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, Lisa, how was your Easter?
It was lovely. Very quiet, obviously, since I'm here by myself. But I was talking to my family. Or part of my family. I was talking to my friends. And then just, I didn't make a big dinner or anything, but I just did some baking and it was nice.
You made some cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, they didn't turn out very well though, but yeah.
What was wrong with them, if you don't mind me asking?
Long story short, my housemate threw away all my rising agents, so I didn't have any rising agents.
Why? Why did she do that?
Because she thought they were old, but they weren't. Anyway. That's another story.
I sense tension.
Yes. Clara's here. Fantastic.
Hi, Clara.
Great. So yeah, so I forgot I didn't have anything to put in, like baking powder or anything like that, or yeast or anything. So obviously it's very difficult. I tried to use a substitute, it did not work. So that was it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but it was, I like baking anyway. It's probably safer that they weren't edible. It's just it's like then I don't eat them.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all a bit. My mum told me that the thing they talk about in England is the Corona Stone, is the new weight that you put on.
Oh yeah.
And in
I think,
Germany, they've started talking about the Corona Speck, the Corona fat.
oh
The
my
extra
God.
weight that we're all putting on.
Amazing. I think in America and Canada it's called the quarantine 15 because they
Oh
use
God, 15
the different.
15 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. They use a different method.
Yeah. So in England, it's called. I'll put it up. It's called the Corona Stone, the extra weight we've all gained. I hope I haven't, because I've been, with the exception of Sunday, because it was Easter Sunday, I've been trying to do some form of exercise every day, either yoga or some fitness things.
That's good.
So I'm hoping that I can come out of this the same weight that I started. I don't think I'm going to lose weight necessarily.
Yeah, I'm trying to combat it with like exercise and everything just to try, but it's difficult. How was your Easter?
My Easter was very nice. I live with my girlfriend, so we celebrated it together. We I made us some dinner. My girlfriend's vegan. I'm not, so I had some lamb, and she had some little like lentil meatballs, like polpettini, that we prepared.
Nice.
And
That's lovely.
I made us some marinated beans and some salad and some roast potatoes, and then I baked us some hot cross buns.
Lovely. Excellent. Yeah, see, I didn't make hot cross, I didn't try because I don't eat them. So, but also.
Do you not like them?
No, I don't like things with fruit in them.
That's so funny. Neither does Anna.
Separate. Yeah.
That's so funny because Anna is the same thing. She doesn't get, like, in, say, Persian food, in Middle Eastern food, for example, the idea of having raisins in your rice, for example, to her is just bizarre. That kind of like Middle Eastern, North African thing of savory, like chicken and fruit together.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I like them separate, but when it's bread or cake with like the pieces of fruit in them, I get a bit weirded out.
Oh, it's so good. So wait, you don't like panettone for the same reason, I'm guessing?
Yeah, no, Pandoro all the way.
Team Pandoro. Guys, what do you prefer, panettone or Pandoro? That's another one you can let us know about.
Exactly. And we also have Laura from Verona. Welcome. Okay.
Hello,
excellent.
Laura. Very good. And nice to meet you.
Angelo from Italy, but somewhere in Italy, I imagine.
Somewhere in Italy. Well, Lisa, you didn't tell us where you're from in Ireland, actually.
Oh, I'm from the northwest of Ireland. So I'm from, it's called Sligo. So it's a small area. Usually people don't know it, but it is very beautiful and rains a lot. But yeah, it's very nice.
It's featured in a lot of music and poetry as well.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. No, it's very, very nice.
It is. Okay. It's a lovely part of the world. So, guys, welcome to our webinar. We are talking this evening about the old debate, nature versus nurture. So this is definitely, I think, one of those where we want you guys to be participating in the conversation, right, Lisa?
Yeah, exactly. So we want your opinions, maybe also feel free to share your own view, your own experiences on this as well, because we want to talk about. We'll share a bit about our own opinions, but I'm sure everyone has a view on this,
yes,
or some type of view. So yeah, we want to make it into a discussion with you guys.
Yes. So in this focus, as you can see, our two objectives: talking about our upbringing and some phrasal verbs related to learning. So I think maybe, Lisa, we should start by talking about that word, upbringing.
Perfect. Okay. So if I talk about my upbringing, okay, I am talking about how my parents raised me. Okay, the upbringing. So also to do with your upbringing, you could say, for example, it's a bit more old-fashioned to say, but I had a middle-class upbringing. Okay, so maybe like typical of that class, or even
as
the
Lisa
area.
as Lisa and I trade in our home baking secrets. Thank you for that completely hypothetical example, Lisa.
Upper middle class. No, I'm joking. Yeah, so you can talk about your upbringing in terms of how your parents raised you, also in terms of society at that time, also in terms of where you're from, what region you're from. Maybe it has a particular type. So upbringing can be kind of quantified in a lot of different ways, but it's how you're raised, basically, or the time in which you're raised. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely, yeah. I was just writing up, the way you said that you can basically insert an adjective to talk about your upbringing. So, like you said, middle class. It could be, I had a very Catholic upbringing, very Jewish upbringing, very Sikh upbringing. Difficult, people can talk about having a difficult upbringing.
Yeah, exactly. Like strict upbringing as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the way to talk about, as Lisa said, how you were raised, how your parents brought you up, and and also the circumstances.
Exactly.
So yeah, but it's a noun. The verb though gets weird because you don't say upbring someone. What you do is you basically reverse it and you bring up someone. It's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, it's true. It's a bit confusing.
So, I hope you can see, guys. We are talking here. We've got three kind of general questions here. What is the nature versus nurture debate? What are the differences between the two schools of thought? And when did this debate first arise? So, nature versus nurture. Now, I remember we had to study this we didn't have to, but in high school, I chose to study psychology for my high school exams. So
cool.
We talked about this when I was 15, I think, was how old I was in high school. Lisa, did you study this or learn about this in school at any point?
No. I have to be honest and say that the Irish curriculum is not great. Sometimes when it comes to it's probably improved since I was younger, but it was a lot more old-fashioned back then. So we didn't discuss I guess we didn't discuss these very kind of interesting topics.
Okay.
We didn't debate things like this.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, because I think it is very interesting, but we didn't do anything related to psychology.
But that's okay. I mean, I have to say I studied it. I am, of course, not an expert in it. This was, 15 years ago when I was still a teenager. But yeah, when we talk about nature and nurture, what are we talking about, Lisa? What is this? As that first question, what is this debate?
Well, I hope I'm right. Well, I think if we think about it in terms of nature, so nature in terms of the genetics that you get from the natural kind of, I guess, to do with maybe your health or also your mental health, your things like this that you get from the genetics of your parents versus nurture. So to nurture someone, to take care of someone, how you're brought up and the circumstances in how you're brought up. So like we're talking about your upbringing. So I guess sometimes how much of ourselves is influenced by genetics and by biology, and how much of it is influenced by our circumstances, our surroundings, our environment. That's my perception.
And of course, you're absolutely right. yeah, it's as you say, how, are we a blank slate when we are born onto which,
Hmm.
absolutely anything can be written?
Hmm.
Or, are we, as you said, are there some inherited qualities, genetic mutations, etc., in us that
Lovely.
I know, that predispose us to certain behavior. Um,
Yeah.
this is, I think, very often it always comes up when people talk about criminality. So,
Mm.
is a Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy type person born as that
Mm.
person, or does a lot have to happen to them? Could any of us be that person, as well?
Yeah.
Um, and then of course there are some people who say it's a bit of both.
Mm.
Um, that the two things are combined in people.
Yeah.
And I think again, guys, we opened this up to you. Maybe we know that lots of you who are university students. I know we have some psychology students in Myers Meravili, for example. I know that we have a
Hmm.
few actually. So if any of you are watching, please help Lisa and I as we,
Yeah,
pose as
and also just
experts.
just give us your opinions on this as well, because I think it's something, even from watching documentaries, you probably come across it.
Yes, yes, yeah. Like, have you come across? Have you ever heard of this before, or is this the first time you've ever heard it mentioned?
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it always comes up, Lisa. I think whenever there's a particularly gruesome crime, if there's ever
Mm.
a serial killer or some sort of horrific crime, usually involving violence or sexual violence,
Yeah.
kind of society has this conversation, doesn't it? About, oh, some people are just born evil. Oh no, that's not true. It could be any of us. This person was just unlucky.
Mm.
They had, as we said, they had a difficult upbringing.
Mm.
Um, I know in the UK it comes up a lot. We tend to get quite hysterical, especially some of our newspapers tend to get very caught up in this. What about in Ireland? Is it quite an intense row?
Yeah, it really depends as well, because it depends on the circumstances. But for sure, like, um, I remember there was a terrible case of teenagers who committed a murder. I think maybe last year, the year before, and then like that straight away, people think, okay, tell me about their family, tell me about their upbringing.
Yeah,
They want to try and find a reason for this, and yeah, I guess then there's that thing of like, oh, some people are just born evil or born with something wrong with them. But I think people always want to understand why or where this came from. um like, even I remember a massive case where it was a man who completely hid this alternative side of himself. Like, he was a successful architect, very well known person, and actually in his free time he was trying to murder people. Uh, so
only
I think
trying
people are
to.
always no, he was trying for a long time, and then obviously succeeded,
Right.
and thankfully was caught. But still, yeah, it was quite scary, and I think people are
Yeah.
fascinated by how, like, a person who seems to have everything all together. Also, it doesn't just relate to murder. Sorry, I'm gone down that tunnel.
No, it's just that is that I feel like that is when it comes up most like potently.
Mm.
Clara has made a good contribution
Hmm.
here. She says, I don't have any psychological background. I think that the environment around us has a huge influence on, so it's Clara, it's influence on people, especially when we are children. Yeah, I think that's almost certainly true,
Hmm.
Clara. But I think a lot of people don't always like to acknowledge that. They would prefer to just dismiss a person as, a Charles Manson type figure. Um, if any of you have seen the very good Netflix series Mindhunter, I recommend it
Ooh,
very
yeah.
highly. That it's very much part of that show, as these are the FBI's psychological profilers have this conversation. In fact, Charles Manson is one of the people that they speak about, and it's that whole thing of Charles Manson, was he born that way? And some people say yes, and some people say no. Any of us could be Charles Manson. Any of us could be, a concentration camp guard. We could all do. We should say, though, just while Lisa and I are talking about all this horrible stuff, it's not always about murder. The nature, because the debate also, Lisa, comes up with things like for example, talent or ability.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
What was Cristiano Ronaldo born a great footballer, or did he have to work? Did he just work harder than everybody? You're a very good artist. Were you born as an artist, or did you have to learn about it and practice it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Yeah, it's a, like you said, it's kind of a combination of factors. Like, I come from a very creative family, so obviously I was encouraged to do creative things and to be creative, especially by my mother. But then at the same time, I was terrible for a very long time. So I also had to practice to get a bit
terrible
better.
at art.
Yeah, oh god, I remember some of my art when I was younger is just absolutely terrible, so I definitely had to practice and practice and practice.
Right.
Whereas I know some other people maybe are more gifted, like, I guess I have a tendency towards it, but I wouldn't be as naturally, like, for example, I remember one of my old friends, they had that musical ability where they could just pick up an instrument and figure out how to play it. Like, what is that?
I hate people like that. My cousins in Scotland are like that.
Yeah, I know, it's so true. It's crazy. But yeah, like, so I wouldn't say I have that sort of ability.
No, me neither. Laura says,
Yeah.
I'm not a psychology student, sorry. I think that we are most influenced by our family background, but not by our genetics. That's interesting, Laura. So maybe, Laura, you mean like the type of the household that you grow up in, for example. So if that's what you mean, Laura, if not, let us know. When did the debate arise? That's the final question. Gosh, I couldn't tell you for sure, as Lisa does the kind of.
Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, but I would educated guess. I would say the 19th century, when the theory of evolution was first put forward, and there was, we started learning about this new science called genetics, and because we also know that unfortunately at that time there was all sorts of pseudo-scientific nonsense about racial differences, the idea that certain people were just born to be servile or were born as criminals, and other people were born to be, rulers, kings, dominators, etc. Don't apologize for not being psychology students, by the way, guys.
Yeah, don't worry.
We're certainly not. I didn't mean I didn't mean I only wanted psychology students. I promise. It was just that I know that a lot of our students are. Okay, we have a case study here. And in fact, I actually think that this is something that we did study in my psychology class, if I remember.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, but Lisa, do you want to read the first half of this and then I can take over?
Yeah, of course. I'll read it up until upbringing. So, in 1925, Margaret Mead journeyed to the South Pacific territory of American Samoa. She sought to discover whether adolescence was a universally traumatic and stressful time due to biological factors, or whether the experience of adolescence depended on one's cultural upbringing.
After spending about 9 months observing and interviewing Samoans, as well as administering psychological tests, Mead concluded that adolescence was not a stressful time for girls in Samoa, because Samoan cultural patterns were very different from those in the United States. So this is, as I say, this is a case study, and it is, I think, it's a very interesting one, because we all, as we say, we all think of adolescence, that period of being a teenager, as being pretty hellish.
Yeah.
Yeah. For you, Lisa, yeah, not a good time.
Wasn't great, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Could have been worse, I suppose. You could always say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I look back and think I wish I could be a teenager again. I think I'm kind of happy that that's over.
No, God, no. Yeah, no, I was terribly awkward as a teenager.
Were you?
Yeah, oh God, I was petrified. I was a very, very shy child.
Oh, well, you're not shy at all now.
Exactly. Came out of my shell and then never went back in again.
Ooh, that's a good one. Came out of my shell. There's no way I'm going to let you get away with not explaining that one.
Okay. Okay, so we use this a lot, like someone who so if you say I came out of my shell, okay, so if you think of obviously the shell of an egg, okay, shell of an egg or a seashell, I guess. But if you think of to come out of your shell is when you break that kind of cover. So maybe you were shy and then you started to become more so to become more open, to become more social. So I came out of my shell. It's like that way. So yeah, it's usually to talk about some sort of change in our personality when you were maybe shy previously.
Did you say that it was about coming out of an eggshell?
Is that not it? No?
I don't know. I always thought it was about a tortoise.
Oh my God, you're right.
No, I don't know. I'm saying that's just what I always thought. I don't know.
I don't know. I just imagine that like breaking something. So to break like a barrier and come out. But yeah, you're right. Actually, a shell like a turtle. Oh right, okay.
I was thinking more like when a turtle feels threatened, it retreats into its shell.
That's true.
And it only comes out again when it feels secure. I don't know. We'll have to check the etymology of that one.
That makes more sense than the eggshell thing. I don't know, maybe it's because of Easter I'm thinking of eggs.
Oh, did you have a chocolate egg, by the way?
Yes, I did. I still have some left. I had a Kinder Egg.
I saw on Instagram. Well done. You're embracing your inner child.
Exactly, definitely.
Was it delicious?
It was very good. Yeah, it was very, very nice. I saw you got
Easter eggs are so much prettier here, aren't they?
Yeah,
than in
really
the UK
nice.
and Ireland. They're almost too pretty to open.
Yeah, and you get much more inside them when you have like a gift and stuff inside them. At home now, it's like you might get 2 tiny things inside if there is a surprise.
Anna and I, we got some very nice dark chocolate ones actually from the supermarket, which we're very happy with, and we've been very good. Nice. We've only opened one of them, and we've only eaten half of it, so we've been very good.
Very good. Very, very controlled of you.
Just about. We absolutely demolished the hot cross buns. So, guys, this study. I mean, there's no kind of exercises to go with this. There's no questions here. It's just, I think, used as an interesting example of what the nature-nurture debate is. It's one of the early experiments that was done that demonstrated, as we said, that being a teenager is not terrible in every society. Clearly, girls in Samoa are quite chill as they grow up because life is slower. I'm guessing in the 1920s in Samoa, life was a pretty, we think of ourselves as the pinnacle of civilization, but I mean, I know that some hunter-gatherer societies in Africa only work 4 hours a day, and the rest of the time is for relaxation. So you tell me who's more civilized.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, maybe it's, again, I think when they're talking about the culture. So guys, share with us as well. What are your thoughts on this case study? Why do you think it's given as an example when it comes to nature versus nurture? Maybe you have some opinions on this. But I think also maybe the fact that we have an idealized notion that adolescence is difficult. So almost that we probably place that on the children in a way, that it's like, oh, you're going to be a teenager, oh, it's going to be difficult. So maybe as a society that we, I guess, unbeknownst, we carry on these ideas that, oh my God, you're having a baby. Oh, it's going to be terrible. You're not going to sleep at all.
Yes.
Whereas actually, is that guaranteed, or are we causing it by thinking that it's going to be that way? I don't know. I know that's a bit more kind of conceptual, but
no, but it's similar to this next question, actually, talking about different culture. You know, as it says, how can we rationalize similarities between seemingly opposite cultures, and what are some examples? Okay, so as it says, similarities between seemingly opposite cultures. Okay, I mean, and this is, I think, about the idea of, you know, the universality of the human experience. You know, we all want roughly the same thing. You know, everybody wants to, you know, I think you might look at a culture like, say, a culture in maybe Asia or in a Pacific Island community. And you might think, oh my God, that's so different to me. That's so strange to me. But really, if you think about it, we all basically want the same things, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I just realized, should we go back on the screen?
Yes.
I just realized that they couldn't see us. But yeah, exactly. I think definitely it's kind of not sometimes a lack of understanding, but also maybe a lack of knowledge as well about the difference in the cultures. Okay, so maybe guys, if you have any opinions on this as well, or even from your own experiences, kind of if you found out something, or if you've seen patterns, like I think, like in Ireland, there are a lot of, unfortunately, negative patterns in terms of the culture and how people are brought up and different things like this. What are kind of the stereotypes, Liam, for you? of like some cultural things, like in terms of like typical cultural upbringings? I'm sure there are lots of stereotypes in the UK for like from different areas that you have a specific upbringing.
Well, in the UK, certainly, excuse me, in the UK, everything is distilled through the prism of class. I think that's probably the most important factor in the UK. And so your upbringing will be very much determined by your social class. Now, of course, again, this is this thing of everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to be healthy, happy, safe, educated, fed. But in Britain, the degree to which you can do that and the way society looks at you is very much influenced by, you know, what part of the country you grew up in. Especially what type of school did you attend? The United Kingdom has, I think it's something like only 7% of, for example, only 7% of the country goes to private school, but something like 60% of all judges are from private school, for example.
Yeah.
I think that would be, and yeah, there are definitely stereotypes in Britain about, you know, the idea that basically the poorer you are, the worse your upbringing is the very crude way, I think, that most people would look at it. That if you have a difficult upbringing, your chances in life are not good. But again, I come back to this thing of everybody wants roughly the same thing. It's just that access to it, equality of access to it, is not guaranteed.
Yeah, because like that, people... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that like sometimes people say you're limited by where you're from or where you grew up. Sometimes you have the limitations of what is possible because maybe the resources, or maybe, I don't know, maybe the amount of money that can be made, that sort of thing. But again, it just really depends. Like maybe you have to work harder depending on your circumstances to achieve something. But yeah, obviously then having more difficulty because of that, because of like a societal difficulty, in a way actually makes probably your life more. Like if you have to work harder for it, you appreciate it more. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's a whole other thing.
That may well be true. And why is the debate important? Kind of looking at the second question now, what would the implications be? Well, one of the big things is that if it's all nature, if everything is about your genetics, then the kind of science fiction idea would be that you could program people. You could select the genetics that make for the best piano player or the best footballer or the best chef, and you could design the perfect person. That would be a slightly dystopian one. I see Clara is saying something. She says many stereotypes arise from the difference, quote, between North and South. For example, it said that people from the South are more friendly than Northern ones. And she goes on, it's true, but that doesn't mean that people from the North are not friendly. Right, very good. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Italy, and that's the big cultural divide here, isn't it? It is the North and the South. And I know there are a lot of stereotypes, and not all of them particularly pleasant ones, I have to say. Especially the way that the North looks at the South, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And it's similar actually in Ireland, and maybe Clara knows this because she's been there, that in Ireland there's a divide. It's funny. Okay, not going to talk about the actual divide. So in the Republic, there's a divide between people from
I don't
Dublin.
know, why not? I'm feeling punchy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the one I'm referring to is actually from people who are from Dublin and kind of the surrounding areas of Dublin, and then the divide being everyone outside of that.
Yes.
Because I guess there's this perception that a lot of people who are from Dublin are probably more well off. So to be more well off than people from the country. So they, again, like that, looking down on people from outside Dublin, like there's something wrong.
Is that Lisa, is that specific to Dublin, or does that apply to the other bigger cities in Ireland, like Galway and Cork, for example? Or is this very much a Dublin and the rest?
It's kind of a perception of like people and now this is, again, it's a perception thing because it's obviously not true. I have a lot of good friends who are from Dublin, but that there is maybe sometimes a bit of an ignorance between people from Dublin to the outside of Ireland, the rest of Ireland, where like they kind of consider that we're all just farmers who grew up on a field. Literally just like with the animals.
Wellington boots and carrying a pig under your arm.
Exactly. So I think it's because, again, they wouldn't regard the other cities as important sometimes. Yeah. Sorry, that's me as a country person.
I'm laughing because my dad is from Ireland as well. My dad's from Belfast, and my dad doesn't like Dublin. So it does. He doesn't particularly like Dublin either.
Sure, I basically lost an ex-boyfriend because I lived in Dublin and he hated it. So
there you go. See, Dublin, it destroys relationships. Exactly. That's on the official tourism motto. Clara's just clarified, I'm from the South, so I'm not defending something that belongs to me. Very good, exactly.
Excellent.
This last question, is an imaginary world without differences feasible? I certainly hope not. How terribly boring that would be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you were to have no differences whatsoever, then nothing would be interesting.
No, exactly. Just this idea of everyone has to be the same and we all have to conform to the same standards. I really wouldn't like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so these are some.
We're coming into the final 10 minutes now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say these are kind of related more to the kind of the idea of nature. Okay, so relating to nature and to upbringing. So some questions in this. So guys, you can feel free to answer the questions, any of them as well, in the comments, just ones like this that are relating to your own nature. Okay, so while you're answering, I'm just going to read the questions. So what type of life lessons do you associate with nature? Are you good at the same things as your parents? Okay, very interesting question. Do you have a lot of common sense? Okay. So just to mention common sense, it's obviously kind of being practical. Okay, so common sense that you know, okay, just typical things that you should know as an adult. So just kind of thinking things through and being practical and rational with what you do. So your common sense. Are you more apt?
Apt.
Would we say it that way? Are you more apt to see the forest from the trees?
Yes.
Would we say it that way?
It's a bit of an awkward sentence, but you can.
Yeah.
It's a
'Cause
bit awkwardly worded, if I'm honest.
I would maybe say, are you more likely to see the forest from the trees?
Or can you? Can you always?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, so in English, guys, the idiomatic expression to be able to see the forest from the trees means you can discern important differences between things. Because the idea is that you don't get lost in the detail of something that appears quite complex and intricate and complicated. You manage to kind of keep all of the details separate so you don't mix them up together and confuse them.
Exactly.
I'm going to focus on that. And the last question, are you quick to figure out problems? So again, figure out, phrasal verb, means find a solution. But I'm going to focus on that second question. Are you good at the same things as your parents? Because I feel like I am, but I don't know whether, again, I feel like there are some things that, like, for example, my dad is a pretty good singer, and I am, but my mum is a very bad singer, and so is my brother. So I don't. Is that is that nature? Because that isn't something you can learn. Someone either has a good voice or they don't, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For example.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's kind of, but maybe as well, do you think that in some way that somehow you got the genetic link to that and then your brother didn't, and vice versa?
Yes, because we inherited so much. Like, I have my dad's face and my mum's hair, and my brother has my mum's face but my dad's hair. So we're very clearly, definitely our parents' children. There's absolutely no question about it when you look at us, especially pictures when they're younger. But then I feel like there are also, like, that's a nature thing. Then there's some other nurture things where, for example, I'm pretty good at cooking, as both of my parents are. But I don't think I was born that way. I wouldn't have been able to just go into the kitchen and do stuff unless they had shown me.
Yeah, because you learn those things from your surroundings, from growing up in the same house as them as well.
Yeah, you pick it up from them, exactly. And what about you? Do you share any talents that your parents have, Lisa? Like, for example, art. Is that in the family?
So, well, you know what? It's quite funny because my uncle is more of an artist than, let's say, my parents. My mum is creative in other ways. So my mum is creative in different ways, like to do with food, to do with baking. She used to write as well. So I think, in a way, I've gotten like bits and pieces, like from different parts of the family, like even from our grandparents. Like my grandfather was a very creative person as well. On my dad's side, more like the practical approach things. So I think I've got a bit of both, because on my dad's side, like my dad's father was a house painter and very practical and like building things and stuff like that. So I think I've got a bit of both, because I like kind of things that are very straightforward and organized, but I also do like the kind of some things that are more creative. So I think I've got a good combination, which is quite funny. But yeah.
Were you, and do you have a lot of common sense then as a result of that?
Yeah, but also because my dad's a policeman, so I have the confused on my mum's side of like creative and artsy, and I don't know, a bit more how would we say, kind of
Free
idealistic.
spirit.
Yeah, exactly. And then on my dad's side, it's more like so. So yeah, I think in general sometimes.
It's a good. It sounds like a good combination.
Yeah, although it can be confusing.
Clara says, my dad was a volleyball player, and when I started to play too, my coach told me that I was born with the genetic skill of being a setter, and my dad was a setter too. Exactly. So that's very interesting.
Huh.
So again, almost
cool.
together. And it's, in fact, there's another expression you can say in English. If you want to say that you are good at something because a member of your family is good at something, we can say in English, it's in your blood. That just means that it's genetic. You know, you can say like, you know, for example, being a volleyball player is in your blood, for example. We can say, in your case, Clara.
Yeah, really good.
And, oh, sorry. Just went a bit too fast then. There we go.
No,
okay, maybe just for the last part, we can talk about the nature, a bigger influence. So, we kind of already talked about. Yes, exactly.
I think the heading is wrong.
Possibly, yeah, they've just inverted these, I think. Yes. Yeah, I've got 4 questions here. It says, what type of life lessons do you associate with nurture? How much of what you take is ingrained in your habits? Is your state of mind similar to those responsible for your upbringing? And where do your interests stem from? What are your hobbies or skills? So, a couple of phrasal verbs here, guys. Ingrained in means something is very profoundly inside of you. Okay, it's almost like it's become a part of you. It's a bit of how much of what you take in is ingrained in your habits. It's a bit of a, again, slightly awkwardly worded question, I have to say. Are you okay, Lisa? We lost you?
Yeah, my sound just went very funny. I don't know if that's just me, but my sound, it went a bit off. Yeah, I think, yeah, it is something to be ingrained in your habits. It is very strangely phrased. Because, yeah, you would talk more about... How much of what you
take in is ingrained in your habits? Yeah, right. I understand what it means now. It's like how much of what you have learned in your environment is now part of who you are. I think that's
exactly.
what they must mean.
Yeah, it is very strange. Because I would talk about something being ingrained in your personality or in... Anyway.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, me too. You know, like if you have a love of history, for example, it's ingrained in me. Because it's the idea of the grain is like the seed. So the idea is it's like something that's planted inside of you.
Exactly. And on that note, to stem, did you explain to stem from?
I was just about to when we lost you. So you go ahead.
No, I was just wondering. Yeah, so like when we talk about where do your interests stem from, it's like where do they come from? Okay, where something comes from. So, for example, if you have a specific interest in, I don't know, like Liam in cooking, where does that come from? Okay, where does it come from? Where's something the origin of something?
Yeah. So I could say, you know, my love of cooking stems from the fact that both of my parents love to cook, for example.
Exactly.
An example for me. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm afraid that we've pretty much come to the end now. We've got about 30 seconds left. Kind of some big topics in this one. It was kind of a heavier one for the start of the week, but
yeah, probably a bit maybe bit too much. It's just straight after Easter. But
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
it was still
We
interesting
might.
to discuss.
It was. And thank you very much, both to Clara in particular for all of your contributions. And also, there was, I think, was it not just Clara? Laura as well. Thank you very much, Laura, for
Exactly.
your contributions. We hope you've enjoyed this, guys. Please leave any comments in the comment section on YouTube. And keep an eye out online for any announcements or updates. And with that, we'll say thank you very much and have a great evening. And we will hopefully see you again soon. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.